All right. Hey, everyone. I am here again with Michael Kaufman, Mike, who runs the Newsletter Club and Catskill Crew. You probably know who he is. He's basically a celebrity at this point. He keeps getting written up about in all these local media companies that cover local media. So that's really cool. And I'm just stoked to have him again. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. All right. So let's get into, we're doing round two here. We got cut off before. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But let's chat a little bit about Newsletter Club. It keeps coming up. Jimmy mentioned it on the last episode, who's in the club, how great it is. I'm in there, not as much as I should be, but literally I've said this before and it's not a joke, that part of the reason I don't want to go in is because there's so much value. I feel like I'm going to get sucked in just like reading all day because there's so much good stuff. So it's kind of in a way it's a problem, but it's a good problem, right? So, but tell everybody what it is, just to be clear. I think people have heard of it, but like, what is it exactly? What are they going to get out of it and why should they join it?
Yeah, I was just sick of building alone, so I wanted to build with a bunch of other people, and everyone had different skill sets. So it was like let's aggregate everyone together who's serious in the space, so we could just compound that knowledge over and over and over again. So we're a year and something in at this point. There's 185, 190 members. There's everything from master classes to weekly calls. It's a Discord channel as the foundation. Why? All these platforms suck, but Discord has the highest response rate. So when you post a question, you're going to get a response. You don't have to wait around for a week or something like that. There's so much connectivity happening outside of the channels as well. So people are building relationships with one another in the DMs. They're working together. They're building software together. They're executing new ventures together. It's really cool to see. And so, yeah, it costs money to join. Why? Because I don't want to hang out with people who aren't serious. It'll dilute the value for every single member. And it's a fantastic place to join. Learn from me, learn from other people. Check it out. Newsletter Club, thenewsletter.club.
Thenewsletter.club. Okay. Yeah, no, I would definitely encourage everybody to join this. It is super valuable. It really helped me so much kind of get everything off the ground, and being able to learn from other people experimenting, I think is just the key, right? So,
I mean, your customer acquisition costs will go down, especially when you start. The number of people who join, they're like, yeah, my CAC is $1. I'm like, how many subscribers? They're like, 35 subscribers. I'm like, fuck that. You got to get all the way down. Like, I want to see you at 10 cents. I want to see you at 8 cents at that stage. So we had the proven templates that work there, monetization strategies, passive and, actually being involved, high touch. Sky's the limit, and it continues to grow, and we all continue to learn together.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I think the other thing that is super valuable for people, and this is something we're going to talk about a bunch on this episode, where is how to monetize other than advertisers, right? And so many people watching this probably understand that I talk about this. You should have your own business of some kind that you can market. You don't want to do this, most likely, if all you're trying to do is make money from advertisers. It's possible, but very hard. So if you have your own business of some kind, that's where the gold is. And there's lots of people in the group doing all kinds of things, right? Trying all different sorts of ways to make money directly themselves as opposed to advertisers. Because there's so many options, which is why this business is so fun, is like, there's not 7 things you can do. There's 10,000, right? It's unlimited.
Literally.
And yeah. And so you want to be around people trying these things, right? And this is the place to go for that. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it if you're serious, right? As you already said, right? Like if you're serious, this is the place you want to be if you want to connect with others doing it and learn from others and share your ideas and get feedback, like you said, quickly. I mean, it really is crazy. It's without question the best like digital, community group, whatever you want to call it like this. It's the best one I've seen. And I've been in probably too many, but that's only because I know the value of them, right? The good ones far outweigh the bad ones. It's worth trying. And so this one, you've heard enough good things if you watch me and my show of people mentioning this club. So yeah, highly
Come hang out with us. If you're listening, you want in, come hang out. We're there all day.
There you go. All right. So let's first get into the direct mail stuff that you're doing. I think they talked about that in some of the people who've written pieces about you and your model. I even was just reading today. Was it Dan Oshinsky or somebody, a big newsletter person, was writing about print, how many of these smart media companies are starting to get back into print. And it just seems to be a hot topic. So I know you're doing it probably in a completely different way than most, but still you're doing it. And so I'm curious your thoughts on it and what your plans are.
Nothing's changed. People want a paper. People want something physical. They're digitally burned out. They don't want to stare at a screen all day. If they do, there's something wrong with them and they should contact a therapist. Regardless, everyone should have a therapist. But why has print gone away? Well, the models are flawed. Simple as that. Look at newspapers. They're continuing to die out. There's new younger folks coming in, or more creative folks who are trying to run different models. But why has the old model failed? Well, it was destined. It was destined in the stars to fail. The quality of content, and it was the connective tissue for a community, but the quality of content started to go down as they started to try to fill pages with ads. It just became a vehicle to sell ads, not disperse high quality information. So I run a newspaper. TJ, you're one of my authors, one of my writers. You give me an article, it's a half a page. I'm like, dude, drag it out to 3 pages. We could sell more ads. We used to send once a week. Now we send 5 times a week because we have 5x more revenue opportunity for ad placement. The overhead went up. They tried to cut costs, while pumping out the same advertisers. And there will be models that work that leverage, AI and everything like that to continue to push out. But at the end of the day, people still want paper. People still want local voices, trusted, authentic voices for their region. My thought process here is like, I'm seeing this play out in the Catskills. Everyone is seeing it play out in their own backyard. Now, how do newsletters make money? Well, there's an ample number of monetization strategies. One of them is premium. 185 whatever newsletter operators in the newsletter club. I haven't seen a single person do a premium membership that I'd be willing to pay for. It doesn't mean they're not making money, but I wouldn't pay for it. So I just go back to the mirror and I go, what the fuck would I pay for? Can I swear here? We're going to run it every once in a while.
Yeah, you're good.
But at the end of the day, it's what the hell would you pay for? Forget everyone else. Stop playing 4-dimensional chess and go back to 2D checkers. Stop guessing what the whole world wants. Start figuring out what you want and trust your intuition that it's going to resonate with other folks. And so what do I want to pay for? I want a physical. I want a piece of mail that comes to my inbox, to my mailbox, specifically a P.O. box, once a quarter. I would pay money for that. Now the question is, what's inside of it? So I spend a lot of time thinking about what can I package up in an envelope with a wax seal, which I bought. I'm not great at the wax seals, but maybe I'll do weddings as a side hustle, wedding wax seals. But inside, it's basically a mini almanac for the season. There is a couple articles I wrote, a note to subscribers just to get them excited, a little insert that says, hey, for every letter we plant, we send out, we're going to plant a tree. There's 3 stickers you can only get by being a premium subscriber. There's an invite with 2 free drink tickets. Great. Now we're taking this online community. We're bringing them out into the real world. It's great for the business. I've already had 7 businesses that want to sign on for it. And those are only valid for 1 day. It's not some drink ticket that you could use down the line. It is valid for 24 hours. Drives traffic to that business. If you can't make it, give those tickets to a friend. There'll be another one next quarter. But the idea is it's a chassis that you can continue to build more on. There's no reason I can't hire some local artists to do foraging guides. It is kind of your envelope to stuff with whatever local goodness that you could put together. But stop guessing what other people want. What would you pay for? What would you shell out? $25 per season, $90 annually is kind of my price point right now. And at that point, test it out. So I ran this as I always do. I validated it. Back in late August, I was on a road trip and I was crap. You know what? Maybe this actually does work. So nervously, I typed it up and I had to paint this picture for what it is. How do you tell this story? A lot of people lack imagination, so you really need to shape it and don't be vague. You want to be pretty concrete. And it was a 98% approval rating, 1,500 votes, I believe. And the few people, the 3% that were against it, the majority of them were afraid of, they were hesitant about me killing trees. And so I said, all right, no problem. For every letter I send out, I'll plant a tree.
I like that. Just solve it. You got a very small objection, but you solved that one too. That's really interesting.
Why not?
Yeah.
We can do it. It's not expensive to plant a tree, and I love the idea of being able to do it.
That's awesome. Well, that's really exciting. So what's your plan timing wise, or what?
Hopefully Tuesday. Hopefully, first week in November, I'm planning to announce it. It might get pushed out 1 week, but all the systems are go. Set
Okay.
everything up in Shopify. Again,
Okay.
$25 per quarter is my rough math as kind of a tester, and then $90 annually. But
Okay.
also, it's a way you got to tell the story of how does this support the newsletter. Some people thought it was a digitized version of the newsletter. That's crazy. Why on earth would I ever do that? Other people understood it as like a collective of all the events happening in the area. It's the opposite of that. It's meant to feel like a letter. Close your screens, pour a cold beer, sit by the fire, get cozy. This is meant to be an adventure.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that definitely is one of those things that you are going to have to sell that, right? Because I can see people just think, it's just, you're just going to mail me what I'm getting right here on my computer. Like that may be the natural inclination. So yeah, that's going to take some
And
sales, but I'm
there's a
sure you can do it.
tease, right? There's like a tease. You don't want to show everything that's in the envelope, but you need to
Yeah,
paint a picture for
exactly.
what's in there. And
Yes.
so I think like anyone kind of thinking through, hey, what does a physical version of their newsletter or a physical premium look like? Again, kind of build the chassis as an envelope, stuff it with whatever works for you. Hire other people if you don't have the skill sets to design things. Bring the community together. Use this as another touch point to bring people out into the real world. In my opinion, that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I'm excited to see how that goes. Obviously, for sure, if you're in the club, I'm sure you're going to talk about it there, but maybe on Twitter as well. So keep an eye out for everything he's doing there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the local holdco model. You talk about this a lot. I know this comes up a lot in the club. Again, it's really just taking what we said at the beginning of having another business that you can sell or whatnot. Well, local holdco meaning like more than one, right? And you are, I think, are going at it in more unique ways than most. But yeah, tell us some of the things you're thinking about for this model.
It's always been, so my background is building startups, and I got burnt out, full on existential crisis on a river out in Montana in 2023, and I wanted to build something that really kind of I was able to grow with, and I joke about it, but I want to run this business to the day I die. I want the Catskill Crew logo to be engraved on my headstone. Like, I want this to work with me and grow with me. And all the headwinds you experience, in my opinion, are just literally trying to push you in a direction that is better for you as an operator. So when you get punched in the face by something, inevitably that will happen. Like, look at that as like not just a learning experience, but like, where are you starting to get pushed towards? Which elements of this light you up? It will always be a grind. But for me, I always looked at Catskill Crew as a canvas, as a platform, as a Trojan horse with that's a multi-headed hydra of revenue streams. And to look for opportunities in the area, not try to go wide, not try to launch 10 versions of Catskill Crew. That wouldn't work for me. I'm not built like that. That's not my skill set. I like to go deeper. And so with Catskill Crew, I started it early on. I realized, crap, I'm kind of hitting some headwinds with advertisers spending even $250 for advertising. I'm like, how am I supposed to turn this into a six-figure business in year one if I'm already butting into this? And that was kind of the moment where I was like, all right, it's time to level up, switch into sixth gear on kind of creative monetization is what I call it. So it started with um, discount cards. I don't know how one of these is always on the desk. A lot of people try to do these. I didn't do it for revenue necessarily. I did it for growth. 10 businesses promoting Catskill Crew, ride the coattails of other local businesses until they want to ride your coattails. But it's symbiotic relationship. But made a few $1,000s pretty much right away. Started throwing events, making a couple $1,000s here. All of a sudden, my creative monetization strategies were outperforming my traditional monetization strategies, advertisement sponsorships, constantly iterating on the structure of those together with one brand, together with four brands up at the top, featured articles, featured events. Keep iterating. Like, and even if you have a model that works, continue to iterate because you'll find that the different placements work for different businesses with different budgets. I was selling packages early on for featured events, you name it. But I was still like, crap, I really just want to keep building businesses on top of this. So start identifying opportunities that work for your market, your subscribers, and your skill set. So right now, my local holdco, I guess like it looks like It started being products. Here's some of them. So about a little over a year ago, maybe, I started making Catskillopoly board games. The beauty of that was I validated it through the newsletter, through a poll. We launched it. We sold out in like 2 weeks. Now I've opened up wholesale. So I move hundreds of cases of these now annually. Direct to businesses. Why? Well, my margins are good. The business makes money. Like they double their money. The margins are great for them. They have a great relationship with Catskill Crew. Most of those businesses have turned into advertisers or some sort of partner in the long term. But most importantly, it's differentiated revenue outside of my newsletter. I sell these direct to consumer too, but what happens when someone walks into a store and sees Catskillopoly? Well, they just probably spent $50 buying it. And then on the back, they find out about Catskill Crew and they become a subscriber.
That's right.
Puzzles, those did well. I just did another order of those, wholesale there. And then the Catskill Mountain Memories, a new game launching. Tote bags, these hats sold out in 6 hours or something like that. So start really figuring out. Yeah, I got some new crew shirts on here, which are pretty sick. I bought these in bulk because I wanted to populate the store a little bit more. But start figuring out like, hey, is building a brand kind of something I want to do? For me, it was a no-brainer. I want products, I want services, I want experiences, I want real estate, I want everything that works for me. And I'll very much, at least, or rather, in the very least, I will explore what options there are. Another thing I'm doing is put together a couple partners. We bought some commercial real estate. We're trying to rebuild a town. Why the hell would I do that? Well, because think about it. It's like, okay, well, Catskill Crew is the foundation. I partner, I buy a restaurant or something like that. So that's one of the things we did. We're now talking to, can't disclose too much, but someone big. And they're looking to start a restaurant in that space. Now, great, I'll make some money on rent. But most importantly, Catskill Crew will be an advertising partner for this restaurateur. So they'll be spending money through, because I am literally their landlord. I'll be like, now you should check out Catskill Crew. Like, it's the best way to get the name out there. So now they start advertising. Now we start doing events together. Sky is the limit. Now, if we start investing in local entrepreneurs, which is something we're looking at doing, for example, one person is, she makes ice cream. Well, we're still kind of, this is early stage, but if we end up pulling the trigger there, my kind of logic behind that is the same thing. So I'm making money on rent, great. She may advertise with Catskill Crew, but all of a sudden, wait, we have a Catskill Crew flavored ice cream. So it's again, this brand expansion. Additionally, I know hotels do very well. So now on November 4th, I'm meeting with a hotelier and someone who has a bunch of green land. And so we're starting to talk about what does it look like to start building, not a Catskill Crew hotel. None of these things are Catskill Crew. They're expansions off the brand where I, as an individual or as the LLC, has some ownership. But if I own a hotel, it doesn't matter if it's 0.01% or 51%. You better believe that's going to be the top of the hotel chain that I promote. I'm going to prioritize that through and through. Real estate, always number one click. Doesn't matter if it's one of my real estate partners or it's mine, or rather a property of the week. What does it look like to flip houses? So now I'm talking to a general contractor being able to plug houses that we flip. The whole idea is the sky is the limit. What works for you? What works for your market? There's different skill sets. You can outsource these, but if you have this platform, what kind of blocks can you start building on top of it? Not everything has to drive revenue. Not everything has to be called your newsletter. I'd actually advise against that because you want to de-risk, you want to spread more eggs across way more baskets. But, if you are building kind of the local foundation in the local newspaper, like keep those advertisers in there, but advertise what you own. Build other things. Understand that your subscribers are business owners. Like I didn't anticipate wholesale opening up, and now that is a massive revenue driver. Later today I'm dropping off 6 master cases. Like each one of those is $400. My profit on that is not insignificant. And there's demand for the puzzles. There's demand for the memory game. What does it look like to, you now have an entire product line in this one lane of games. I can make my own, I can modify existing games. It's the most ridiculous way to make a living, but it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it ties back into growth, monetization, customer discovery, business relations.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think this kind of goes back to what we talked about for the club and like coming up with these ideas. Again, Mike's just clearly far, far ahead of where most people, including me, are. But this is what's possible. I think this is really what people should take away from this, right? Is like what's possible. Again, you don't have to do the things he's doing, but just you see the breadth and the scope of what he's doing here. You know, what makes sense in your market or for you personally that you're interested in, where you could take this general concept, which I completely agree with him on, of like the foundational level of the media company and then building on top of it things that work well with it. And I think, again, there's so many possibilities.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to your goal, right? Not everyone should be building a local holdco. Like, that is not for everyone. And I fully support it if you do it, but it requires totally different strategy and tactics than if you're building, you know, an AI created or VA driven newsletter and scaling these across the country. Like, totally different tactics. Not saying one is better than the other at all, but likely one is better for that operator.
Exactly.
And, you know, you need to kind of start determining what your true north is, start setting out in that direction. You know, strong beliefs loosely held, start seeing where the opportunities are. And you don't have to go all out in local holdco where I'm going, but like, you might want to sell some merch and build a brand because, you know, that type of revenue is really going to support your growth. You may want to throw some events because now it's not so much what's the defensive moat. It's actually what's your magnet. Why are people going to stay attracted to what you're building? And human connection for our little monkey minds is like the best thing in the world. And guess what? Like, you're going to monetize the event, but more importantly, play the long game, zoom out. Who's going to attend those events? The first one I ever did sold out. I made money off, you got to de-risk it for the businesses, right? So like I tried to get them to pay me $1,000 or something. They wouldn't do it. I don't blame them. I would have done the same thing. I would be like, all right, jackass, no way. But what I did, I came back and I was like, how about this? I'll advertise your business in this event for 3 weeks. I'll sell tickets. Whatever I make off the tickets, I'll keep. The event sold out. I made like, I don't know, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 on tickets. The business did $7,000 over the bar on a Tuesday. They moved 12 hotel rooms. It was a Tuesday. It was locals night. And the folks who were attending were business owners. You know, they're locals. Many of them own businesses. And they're like, can you do this for us? And I was like, I guess I can. I might be able to do it. And so you're going to build this network and position yourself kind of as the center. Again, like I talk about this connective tissue, but like position yourself as the sun. Support as many businesses as you can, and like that light's going to radiate back at you. Help others, play the long game.
I love it. And you know, it's funny the way you said that, really put it into context how I think about why this can be so valuable for the right people in terms of the concept of becoming a super connector. So there's actually a book called Super Connector, and there's other books about the concept of how valuable that can be. And even for me, I've kind of known about that for, 5-6 years. And it's like, yeah, but how do you do it? Like, I don't know that many people. Like, what are you going to do? I get the value, but what do I do? Well, if you have a local media company with thousands and thousands of readers, when you go to the chamber meeting or when you host an event and there's business owners there, everybody will want to talk to you because you have something they want. It's a cheat code to actually becoming a super connector. Now, but you still have to do the work of actually going in person and meeting people, right? Whether hosting events, going to events. Like I'm going this afternoon, a developer reached out to me like, oh, our building's 80% done. Can you come? We'll show you what it's going to be and you can make content, whatever, right? Like there's a developer of like multiple buildings, and they reach out to me, right? And how can I leverage that relationship, right? Or others like it. So anyway, not everyone wants to be a super connector, but that is one of the biggest values, I think, of owning a local media company. And then it's up to you on how to leverage it.
And I think there's something interesting here, right? Because super connector can be the person, it could be the business. For me, my face isn't on the newsletter at all. My face isn't really on the Instagram at all. I want this to be a platform for the entire community. Yes, I have a hat that says Catskill Crew. Some people know what my dog looks like because I occasionally post him on Instagram. But like, they start piecing it together. So they reach out to Catskill Crew, or they find out that I'm going to an event or something like that. And I'm happy to support them. I'm happy to connect them to whoever I think could be a benefit. I'm happy to feature them in the newsletter in some way if I think it's authentic and it actually will resonate versus is forced. And so positioning yourself or a brand as a super connector, when you support other people, like it's basically an inevitability that happens. When you create something special versus chase the quick dollar, it's inevitable that that's going to happen. And so I always advise of like, play the long game, build the model that works for you, start hitting send. I never sent a newsletter in my freaking life before Catskill Crew. Built a bunch of businesses, but like you gotta start and then incrementally increase your design. You know, if you want to outsource the copy, do that. If you want to outsource the design, do that. But commit to delivering every single cadence. I always advise starting on 1 week. There's nothing wrong with starting at 3, 5, it doesn't matter. But for me, I'm still at once a week. I want every touch point to be very valuable. And so, yeah, I think kind of going back to your point of like super connector, like you're playing in small markets. Like you could be a big fish in a small market. You could have a big impact. You know, it's a huge responsibility in my opinion. But if you do it right, you can do it well.
100%. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, hey, let's chat a little bit about ads specifically. How you think about ads, monetizing. You know, again, we kind of talk bad about it, but it's not bad. It's just less reliable, let's say. But it's the thing people are most interested in, of course, including me. Right? This is something I'm really working on getting better at. So you know, thinking about maybe how things are for you today, especially with everything you've learned. You know, the high level of, okay, monetizing via ads, but what steps does that take as far as outreach, and what kind of packages do you offer, and who are you targeting, and, you know, all those kinds of things. Can you, any insights you can give us that you've been working lately?
So at the end of the day, you know, we were just talking about this on the weekly call yesterday in the newsletter club. Like, there's an educational component here, educating local businesses on why they should advertise in a newsletter, why quality of ad does not equal quantity of ads, why it's being and spending advertising dollars intelligently. I always tell this story, and I'll make it quick. I was sitting at a bar one time, and the GM of a hotel came in, and I was like, "Hey man, like, what's up?" He just ran an ad with me. We had a beer. He's like, "How'd the ad do?" And I was like, let's check it out. I pulled up my phone. I looked at Beehive, and it was like, this was early on. It was like 22,000 opens and like 250 clicks or something. I was like, hell yeah. Like, this is for a resi dinner. Like, those are high intention clicks. And I slid the phone over, and I could tell he was disappointed. I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. It cost him $250 because he bought a package of like 30 ads way back when. And so he kept kind of using them and slow rolling them strategically. And he's like, yeah, you know, we hired this influencer on Instagram, and she did like it was better. And I was like, oh, let me check it out. And so I slid over the phone. I opened up the Instagram reel and the metrics, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is better, bud. Like, look at the numbers. And whatever, he had 50,000 views or something like that. But it was like 2 clicks, 2 external clicks out. And I was like, how much did you pay? It's like $1,500. I was like, dude, do the math here. And so after that point on, he's become, you know, a major spender within the newsletter. And we do tons of different things. And so educating people on the value of, you know, not catching them in the middle of the scroll. You are not some banner ad. You are not here to be a click farm. This is not what your newsletter is. And so there's a halo effect. There's an authenticity. There's a direct, you know, high quality sniper approach that they're going to be using a newsletter for. Now, once you kind of start educating them, de-risk it for them, especially early on. Go to these businesses, 5-10 businesses that you have warm, hot connections to. Just, you know, I was doing this on day one. I was like, you know, Susan, like, freaking love your business. Like, I'm starting this thing, Catskill Crew. I'd love to throw you some ads. And she's like, what? It's like, just send me a logo. Actually, don't worry about it. I'll pull it off your website. Check out the newsletter next week. And she'd check out the newsletter and be like, this is freaking awesome. Like, my brand's in there. And it was early on. But you start telling the story of this is compound growth over and over and over. Here are the results. It doesn't matter if you have 5 opens or 5,000. They are getting views, and it costs them no money. No marketer on planet Earth is giving away free stuff. So build those relationships, play the long game, then use that data in that moment of education to then sell them a package. Hey, usually it's $500 a week. We'll give you for 50% off if you buy 4 weeks. And it's like, all right, screw it. If they don't bite, fine, on to the next. Offer different packages and understand what the business's goals are before you offer those packages. So, there's a million ways I could work with you. Some are traditional, some are creative. But I always ask now, like, what does success look like? Working with me, what does success look like? And it's like, oh, we want a 2% click-through rate. Oh, we want to rent out our hotel for this weekend. Oh, we want 500 people to come to this event. It doesn't matter. We want customer generation, lead gen. So then start kind of forming the ads in a way that drives that. So if it's for an event, cool, let's do featured events. If it's for, bookings, great, let's do a 20% giveaway. And we'll do it at a discount. And now that looks great for Catskill Crew members that you have their back and you're giving them something. So kind of reverse engineer their goals and then offer a couple different placements, a couple different ways to structure it. One-time ads rarely perform. And so, the smart marketers know that you can't convince someone who doesn't understand necessarily, but you can at least lead that horse to water and be like, look, I advise 4 weeks in a row. At that point, I think, and I'll give it to you at a discount. Let me prove that this works. So whatever, it's $2,500 for a month. I'll give it to you for $1,750. Let me show you that this works. Because once you de-risk it, once you prove that this works, businesses want customers. Businesses want to achieve that success. De-risk it for them, prove to you and prove to the business that you could deliver. There's too many people who take money from businesses and they can't execute. And they're pissed that the business no longer wants to work with them. Well, would you want to work with you if you can't deliver? So, start structuring these ad packages in ways that really achieve this success. For a long time, and I consistently change up my structures. Just brought to you by 4 banners at the top, 4 ads at the top, to just 1, to then, add placements in the bulletin, which was something I created. Have a media kit. Look bigger than you are. Look more legitimate. Never miss a cent, because then you're not you're competing against the print media companies in your area who never miss a cent. To radio, who's a full-blown business and they have multiple hires. So if you're trying to capture a significant amount of that ad spend, you better be competing and delivering and operating on the same level that your competition is. I don't even want to call it competition, but it is in the sense of you're trying to capture some revenue that they would normally get. So hopefully that's beneficial. And I would say, last thing is, find them wherever the hell they are. Call them. Walk into a business. These are local businesses. Send cold outreach campaigns. Usually I find the majority of my ads are through the newsletter itself. It's the lowest hanging fruit. Have calls to action to become a partner, a sponsor, an advertiser. It doesn't matter. Tweak the language, mess around. Right under an ad, have a call to action. Are you a business owner? Reach out. Let's find a way to work together. And I'm even running Apollo now for national brands, which is an interesting thing. No clue. I'm starting to have some conversations, but attack the castle from every single angle.
Wow. Sorry, I got a couple questions there. That was all good stuff. But just on that last thing, you're running ads. I'm sorry, are you doing cold email using Apollo? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
What are your thoughts there? If this works, what is it that you're trying to do? Is it specific brands packages that are somehow relevant to Catskills? What?
Super specific brands.
Okay.
And then you start kind of triangulating in on some of these brands and expanding out the scope of all right, here's my tier 1, here's my tier 2, here are my tier 3 within these same kind of categories. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be harder and harder for media companies to get advertisers because they're spending money elsewhere. But the ones who get it, and the ones who you can convince and educate and prove success, great. It might take me 3 months, 6 months. I had my first call yesterday with an advertiser that, came through Apollo. And right away, what's success look like for you? And they wanted 2% click-through rate. Great. I need to figure out a campaign that delivers on that 2% CTR. That's all that matters. What's a budget that works for you? They gave me a budget. I'm not going to fight back on it. I don't care if it's a low ball. Let me deliver on that 2% CTR. if I can't, why would I advertise with me ever again if I can't achieve success? And so my full goal with them is to really structure this. Like, they're not trying to get one placement and walk away. They're looking for sustainability that delivers toward their bottom line. And then, you accompany Apollo with LinkedIn outreach, strategic, continue to play ball, iterate, A/B test, be human. Don't, I feel like every time I kind of like use some proven template, it doesn't really deliver the same results as like, yo, I freaking love your brand. I got this thing. It's got 40,000 subscribers. We're the backdoor wilderness to New York City. We'd love to figure out ways to partner up and do really cool creative things. Reach out. Here's my calendar link. Hope to chat.
Nice. No, that's great. That's actually something I'm thinking about doing myself at some point soon. So that's good to hear. Is it easy enough, by the way, doing that in Apollo?
Yeah. I paid a consultant, a buddy of mine, to step in and help me kind of just make sure, because, again, join the club. This is the whole point, is like, why learn? If I could expedite 6 months of pain of bumping into rocks, why the hell wouldn't I pay a consultant for a couple hours of their time to have everything set up? And now I know the systems are in place and all I'm tweaking is the copy.
I mean,
everything else is golden.
That's literally good advice for so many things. Again, I think I've talked about this on here, but I've told people before, like when I wanted to learn Notion, I just paid a guy on Upwork who's really good at Notion to just walk me through it, right? Same with Go High Level. We have a guy right now, like, oh, teach me Go High Level. Like, why sit there and play and struggle? Like, yeah. So I
if
totally
you, if
agree.
you have the time and you have the budget and you have the runway, cool, whatever. If you wanna like sink, swim, doggy paddle. But I want to come out the gate again, just like rockets blazing, moving as fast as possible, knowing that the road is paved, and now it's just, bob and weave.
Exactly. Okay, another question on the media kit, because this it has come up a little bit, but do you don't, I assume here, you don't put pricing, you don't give anybody pricing until they talk to you, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And even with, there's nothing wrong with like when someone reaches out to partner and I'm like, hey, it's $500 starting price. And it's like, look, if you're a small business and I like you and I like who you are, like I'm happy to hook you up with ads for free. I could care less. Like, because I have multi-revenue stream. But what you want at the end of the day, especially as you get further in, is you want consistent long-term partners. You want less partners too, so you can put more effort into them, more focus into them. Each partner is another relationship, another, client you need to manage. And so I do not put prices into my media kit. And the media kit is just to legitimize, paint the picture of like, hey, here are a bunch of ways we can work together. Here's what Catskill Crew, here's what Catskill Crew is not. Here's our reach, here's our mission, here's some of our products. If you're interested, let's get on a call. And then it's like, they're like, crap, there's so much we could do. I'm like, what's your goal? They're like, 2% click-through rate. It's like, cool. Forget all that stuff. Let's start here. We could do that. Let's prove that we can both do this. If we can't, don't even worry about that other stuff.
Okay. No, that makes a ton of sense. And yeah, exactly. How could you can't have pricing if you're customizing what you're trying to do for them? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, how do you, I had one potential good lead. I've talked about this before, but custom home builder, and via email, it was just like, just tell me what you charge. Right. And I think your answer, probably tell me if I'm right. Would your answer just be, hey, I'd have to see what we can customize for you, but let's say it starts at $500 a month, something where you give them a like starting price just to see if you're in the same realm. And maybe that's what they want to hear.
Yeah. If they're demanding a price, like I'm always like, let's get on a call if they're serious. But if they're like, nah, screw off, give me the number, I got things to do. It's like, okay, you know what? People are busy. Yeah. Let's see what this is. And it's like, you know what? In general, my starting price is whatever, random number, $2,500. But what I like to do is work with businesses and prove that this will be valuable for them. How about we cut that at 50%? We could do a custom package, but we have to get on a call so I understand your goals so I can make sure I deliver on them.
Totally.
And then, there's another tactic I like to use, which is like flip the script. Be like, look, we don't work with every single business. I can't work with every single business. I need these to be legitimate, high quality businesses, because if I promote your business and you guys suck, that's going to come back and bite Catskill Crew in the ass. So like, like I'm excited. I like what you're talking about, but like, why do you want to work with Catskill Crew? Like,
Yeah.
and then they literally will convince themselves in
Exactly.
real
They sell
time to be
you.
like, wait, like, no, we're legit. Like, check out our Google reviews.
Mm-mm.
We've been in business for this long, this long. Like now, they have now kind of hit a quality threshold where they're allowed in.
Mm-mm.
It's not always because you shouldn't take everyone's money, in my opinion. I say no to majority of the folks I say no to are large scale property developers in areas where people do not like property developers. They want the wilderness. And so I don't touch their
Mhm.
money. It's not
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's super interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit more about events. That's been kind of a hot topic lately. The dinner apps come out. I've seen some people have some success, some not as much. There's probably a lot of different reasons for that. But like even just events in general, is there anything new that you've done or are doing with events, or you think how people should be thinking about it? Because I mean, again, just reiterating what you've kind of already mentioned, but thinking through expanding the brand, building true connections, but especially riding the wave of people wanting to be more local. AI is causing a lot of issues, and people are going to want to be more have more real life interactions, and how we can facilitate that, I think, is just a huge long term play. So, and I think you agree, but yeah, what new things have you learned, or ideas you've tried, or things you're interested in events?
Yeah, I mean, like, think about the newsletter, right? So, like, Catskill Crew, I always think of primary, secondary, tertiary content buckets. The primary content bucket, there's only two things that have been the same since day one: the font that I wrote Catskill Crew in, and the fact that I always list events. So you're already bringing people together. That is why not everyone is just events, to be clear, but the ones who are, if your newsletter is a newspaper, people are reading from cover to cover, they're going to one category, but many times the events, the curation of what's happening, the aggregation of the good things is also a major factor of what people are coming together for, coming to you for. They trust you to give them good plans and to bring them together. And so, if you start examining, wait, people are actually clicking a ton of events, why don't I actually put on my own events? What I think the goal is like none of my events are super high production value. They're a foraging walk, they're a concert night, they're a barbecue, they're a dinner party. I'm not here to bring together all the influencers. I'm not here to make the room just right. It's raw, it's authentic. So if people want to come together and you're looking to monetize that or not, start gauging what folks want. Start partnering with businesses that are looking to fill a quiet day and start de-risking it for them and figuring out ways to monetize. So I do think you should get paid on day one. A lot of people are like, well, the business doesn't want to pay me. Screw that, in my opinion. De-risk it for them. Do not do it for free. They're going to get a ton of traffic, a ton of awareness over those 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks of you promoting their business. Sell a ticket for $5. It doesn't matter. Make something along the way. I don't advise revenue shares because so often it's misalignment. Your job should be to drive people there, to sell tickets, to get, butts and seats, to get, beers in hand. But when you're like, hey, like, okay, so 6K, if you do 6K over, the register, I get 10%, 20%, whatever. It's like, well, what do we do? Like, there's too much room for not even lack of trust, but complexity of engagement. So I'm a firm believer of like a flat rate. Doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $1,500, $7,000. Create something that you can own. A lot of people are trying to reinvent the wheel for like, what events can we do? I don't know, man. Like there's a company that does bingo nights with like live music, and it's like a multi-million-dollar business. Like, do that. Do beer nights. Someone was posting about in TNC yesterday, a paper planes competition, just like at a brewery. You could fold the
Mm.
paper plane. They provide materials. 20 participants. Everyone's gonna have a blast, have a lot of fun. Like, do things that you would attend. De-risk it for the business. Understand your value. Understand that you promoting this event is going to promote their business as well. Dinner parties are great. Like DNNR, a lot of people are starting to roll with that platform. I think it's a little early to know the longevity. I think everyone in the club has launched one dinner. but the value is there. People want to go to dinner. Now, what's the opposite of that look like? What's the highest end of that look like? Because there you're making $7 to $11 per seat. Like, okay, what's it look like to do an ultra high end Michelin star chef restaurant that's $500 a night? And you do one of these a year, and it's only one of these a month, and it's only 25 seats. Start experimenting with what events work for your area. You have a lot of different voices, a lot of different types of people, a lot of different budget points. Try to be inclusive to all of them. Have the ultra high end, have the low end, have the weekly, have the monthly, have the yearly, have the ones you run yourself or you partner with other businesses. I don't think it's as complex as people try to make it out. And then those are opportunities then, again, to build relationships with business owners. Start getting them excited. Oh, you just opened that brewery? Like, yeah, I run Catskill Crew. Like, would love to chat. Like, whatever you guys want to do. There's tons of ways I can integrate your brand in. And, let's hop on a call. Here's my card. Done. Mm-hmm. Probably close $2,000, $5,000 off that engagement. It doesn't have to be on day one. I can give them a couple ads on the house, play the long game, position myself as the only marketer that has their back, because in reality, that's how I want to do it. If I have your back, I expect you to have mine. It doesn't always work out that way. Cool. We adjust our relationship. But move forward with trust and protect the downside at the same time, because inevitably that's going to arise. Those are my thoughts. It's not rocket science. Get people in a room together, have fun. That's the magnet, not the moat.
Love it. And the other thing, of course, you said this before, but is polling first, right? To like gauge the interest before you maybe do it, right?
Going 0 to 1 with anything is the hardest thing in the world. Why spend money, time, effort, cognitive energy thinking through like, crap, I hope this is going to work? Look, at least poll, at least validate people want this thing. And then it changes the dynamic. Now I'm not selling it to you. I'm delivering on what you literally said you wanted. And look, it might fall on its face anyway. How many people say, I would love that. It's like, cool, pay today. And it's like, no, no, I really do. But like maybe later. So, understand that, maybe the first one is going to be a low lift. Maybe with Catskillopoly board games, like maybe I don't order 1,000 on day one. I order 500. Start minimizing the downside.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Well, Mike, this has been killer. What do you want to leave people with?
Understand your goals. Set your goals. It doesn't matter where you're at. Like, understand what your true north is. Set up as many lighthouses as you possibly can. Learn from others. Join, the newsletter club if it's of interest. Come hang out. Learn from us. We want to learn from you.
Love it. Awesome. All right. Well, great as always, Mike. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon once you got some updates, especially on the print thing. Really excited to see how that goes.
Thank you, TJ.
Of course. See ya.